episode of Let's Talk Deer, brought to you by Grandpa Ray Outdoors, owned by Mr. John O'Brien. John's a Midwestern guy. He's around the Madison, Wisconsin area. He's been an agronomist for over 29 years. So he knows seed, he knows soil, and he knows what white-tailed deer need. John has a large seed company, Grandpa Ray Outdoors, but also he's in educating. He's one of the best educator, seminar, platform speaker, communicator for soil, water, and cover. The soil brings the food, the water hydrates, and the cover keeps them safe. So that's what whitetail needs. So any questions at all about seed, go to grandparayoutdoors.com. Let's Talk Deer does receive compensation from Grandpa Ray Outdoors for mentioning him on my show. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Deer. And we're heading out to Oregon this evening. And Andy Munson, otherwise known as Mountain Phoenix. And there's something behind that word, Mountain Phoenix. And Andy and I have been talking, for like a half an hour. We were on Facebook Live for 10 minutes doing the teaser for this podcast. And now Andy and I have been talking a lot about everything but hunting. And I think that's good. Andy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
I'm well. And the more I talk to you, the better I feel, because like you, I got some interesting news, or my wife is going to have a spinal fusion. I've been married for 50 years, and
Oh, wow.
She's had issues, let's just say health issues and pain issues, and so she just came back from the doctor, so they're going to have to fuse her spine, and hopefully that'll alleviate some of the pain. And then you landed a bombshell on me that you got some interesting news today, which we don't have to talk about. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
when you think about everything that you go through in life, and where I'm going with this, folks, sometimes, and this is a perfect time to have Andy on, because life has thrown all of us. There's nobody in North America, or basically the world, that hasn't been affected by this pandemic. And forget about politics, forget about the medical part of it. It's affected us all one way or another. But in talking with Andy is a single mom with 5 kids. And life, when it's good, isn't easy for a single mom with 5 kids. Now we're talking about, pandemic times, but this lady has risen from the ashes, and that's basically what Mountain Phoenix is. And so why don't you share the story about why you called yourself on social media, in the digital world, Mountain Phoenix?
Well, I had always been drawn to the outdoors as a little girl. My family, we were very poor, so all of the stuff that we did involved fishing. Fishing's cheap. We'd put the little wires in to make the worms come out of the ground. I don't know what that is, because I just go to Cabela's and get my worms now. But, the next morning we'd come out, there'd be worms on the ground, and we'd collect them, and we'd go fishing. And, but I didn't just like to go fishing. I wanted to wander off into the woods. I wanted to be by the trees. I wanted to listen to see what animals were there. And I had a little brother, and his name's Lance, and he was the same way. And we would constantly just wander. And as we grew up and got older and throughout foster care, he got to go through on a few bear hunts and things. And he came back and he told me about these adventures he'd went on. And I was so excited. And after our adoption, we would spend our summers working on my dad's farm and talking about how one day we're going to go hunting together. And, life happened, and I got married and had kids, and he went off to college, and we still talked about how someday we would have this big adventure together. And my little brother ended up getting into some hard times with drugs and became heavily addicted and took his own life on Valentine's of 2015. And when that happened, it felt like, the feather on the top of the acne pile of what I could handle in life. I'd gone through severe poverty. I had to start work at 7 years old to take care of my younger siblings and provide food. We had gone through foster care, horrible foster homes, been adopted. And then that situation being a stressful situation itself, and then getting married and young and having children and a daughter with a rare disability, it was like this big climax was coming, and all of a sudden my brother took his life and I felt like I was going to crumble. And I'm someone that believes that the only time we are going to fall is if we allow ourselves to fall. And I decided that in order to honor him and to honor myself and what I'd always wanted to do, that I would start getting into the outdoors again. I would go exploring and I would prepare myself to honor my brother with an elk hunt. And that's been my focus for the last 5 years since he passed away, is getting to that point. But when I made an Instagram, it was to go follow hunters that I could learn from and to grow from. And so I started following people, seeing what they did, what products they were using. And I created the name The Mountain Phoenix because I am someone that has been constantly burned by life, but I always rise out of the ashes and I rise up stronger than I did before. And I find my peace and my solace in the mountains. So it only made sense to me. I view myself as somebody that is an overcomer, that's a mountain climber, that rises from the ashes. And that's how I get through life, and that's how I believe everyone can get through life.
Thank you for sharing that. Who are some of the people? Now, I know you have a lot of Facebook followers, but we're going to have to pick one or two. Let's use the same we used on Facebook Live. So who has helped you become a hunter?
Well, I would say, and I mentioned this on Facebook Live, and I apologize in advance for anyone listening. I love all of my friends that I follow on social media.
Blame Bruce. Blame Bruce.
So I do, female-wise, Jessica Byers from Follow Her Arrow. I just appreciated that she was respectful, that she was ethical, that she was not afraid to show weakness and strength. I was a little bit thrown off when I joined the social media life to see how many women were extra, I guess you could say, and didn't really seem to have a lot to do with hunting, but they were special. So anyway, I was like, man, is this what hunting is like for women? Do I have to wear a bikini and strap a gun across my body to get help, And so when I found Jessica, I was so excited to find this down-home Southern girl who was just out there making it work, and she's been a huge inspiration to me, and I follow her. In fact, she did this super sweet thing for my daughter's birthday last May. She sent my daughter a video for her birthday, and before she showed anybody else the bear that she tagged out on last spring, she sent a picture of it to my daughter on Instagram. So she's definitely someone that's, comes from special stock, I believe. And then my friend Chris Applegate is on Instagram as well. We met a couple of years ago, and he's just been somebody that's pushed me outside my comfort zone. He's not afraid to tell me how it is. When I expressed to him about my elk hunt, he sent me a bunch of elk calls and videos and told me, which ones to use and to start practicing. And I know we've talked about at some point in time him coming on this elk hunt with me and helping make it happen. I've been eating tag soup and solo hunting for the last 4 years. So it's been an adventure. But yeah, I'd have to say I have a lot of people that inspire me and that I admire, but those two have been extremely impactful for me.
Now, you're in Oregon, and you go up to the Nez Perce, and there's wolves up there.
I'm in Idaho, but yes,
Idaho, pardon me.
Where I do hunt is Nez Perce National Forest, and that's why I hunt it, is because it's challenging and it pushes me, and it's, oh, by golly, Bruce, I have to tell you, 2 seasons ago, I went up over this ridge and I had spotted a little spike over across the way. And so I thought, I'm going to try to call him in. And then I'm calling. And all of a sudden I hear this like yelp howl thing come off to the left of me. And then another wolf responded down the middle, and then another wolf responded down the right-hand side. And I realized what was happening, but I was curious to see if they were coming my direction, so I kept cow calling. And again, the howling bark, and it was getting closer and closer and closer until I swear they were just like maybe half a mile out from me. And then they got quiet, and my heart started to race because I thought to myself, they think I'm dinner. So I took off running. I was so scared because they started barking at this point, and I could hear that they were close. So I took off running down the mountainside. I've never hauled butt faster in my life, to my truck. I got to my truck. Well, the fanny pack on the front of my little pack I was using had opened up, and my keys had fallen out. So I had to turn back and run towards the wolves. And I was just praying. I was like, Lord, don't let this be the way I die. And luckily, my keys had just barely fallen out, not even 20, 30 feet away from my truck. So exhilarating and so fun, but that's what I live for. I live for a little bit of edge and
that was a lot of
excitement.
Edge.
That was a lot of edge.
Now, do you pack?
Yeah.
Were you carrying a 45?
You know what? At the time, no, I was not. And
oh, please,
and I got
please
home,
carry.
And
please.
Yeah, you should always carry,
please.
Folks. Don't. That was a rookie move right there that I pulled. But so now I take a wolf tag, and I carry.
Yeah, please, because you were actually, you were calling in the wolves. And
I was.
You were
and
lunch.
I knew what I was doing, but it was
dinner.
exciting. Yeah.
Well, it was, but it definitely edgy, and that's why people you gotta be smart.
Well, I'll tell you this, Bruce. I haven't done it since. I learned my lesson.
Well, and that's okay if you have a wolf tag.
Mm-hmm.
Then
if I have a wolf tag. But yeah, Nez Perce National Forest, it's my favorite place. And the Gospel Hump Wilderness is near that area as well, that unit. Two beautiful, beautiful parts of northern Idaho. I've had some great experiences up there. I've met some really cool miners up there, older gentlemen that have been mining those mountainsides for years and generations and swapping stories around campfires and stuff. I can't quite think of anywhere else I'd rather hunt.
That's up in the Panhandle, right?
Nope, not quite that
far
Idaho?
Up. Okay.
I mean, it could go that far up if you went, but it breaks up into different units. So Unit 15 is kind of more like northwest, right before you get to the Panhandle.
This is Bruce Hutchin with a special message about my relationship with Byrna.com. Byrna HD is a non-lethal pistol that's available now on the web at Byrna.com. If you go to the web and use my promo code LTD2020, you're going to get a 10% discount on all Byrna product. So again, Let's Talk Deer has a discount, promo code LTD2020 for all Byrna product. Go check them out. They're great.
Maybe someday. I've never hunted Idaho. I should probably. I fly fish. I've done a lot of fishing in Idaho, but never hunted Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
So for the ladies listening to the show, what do they need in order to go DIY solo in the backcountry? What do they need?
Just courage. Just believe in yourself and don't be afraid to work and work hard. I think for me, I'm kind of a mountain gypsy, I guess you could say. I love exploring. I love going outside of my comfort zone and pushing myself a little bit further. But I think if there's a woman who wants to get out there, and I mean, I don't have someone that can hunt with me. I don't. I hunt by myself. All my friends are from out of state that hunt, and so when I go, I have no choice but to go alone. But on top of that, prepare yourself. Teach yourself little tiny survival techniques that are going to make the difference. and spend time in learning how to start a fire, appropriately learning how to scout, reading maps. I use Onyx maps, but I always have a topographical map with me as well. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be too prideful to go to somebody who's more experienced and say, hey, this is what I really want to do. Can you give me some advice and what would be a good route? And then really familiarize yourself with equipment. Find, good gear to outfit yourself that works for you, that's comfortable. And then just get out there. Don't make excuses. Don't hesitate. In fact, I worked for an archery range out here in Idaho called Dead On Archery for a summer to help pay for my gear. And this woman came in with her husband, and I said, he had his bow, and I hollered at her. I said, oh, are you here to buy your bow? And she says, oh, no, I just don't have time. As much as I'd love to, I've got 5 kids, and I just don't have time. And I grinned ear to ear, and I said, oh, you don't have time? Well, let me introduce myself. And shared with her my story. And I said, either you want to do this with your husband and you want to experience this, or you don't. That's what it boils down to. Anyway, she got super excited and reached out to me recently because she ended up buying a bow. So, and she's out there hunting with her husband now. So I think don't sell yourself short. Take time to educate yourself. Don't put yourself in the mountains if you don't know what you're doing. You wouldn't, just because someone's had heart surgery doesn't mean that they're qualified to do heart surgery. Just because you've been in the mountains with your boyfriend or husband or partner or friends, or you've watched YouTube videos, doesn't mean that you're ready to do it. Apply yourself, learn, educate yourself, practice with, your bow or your gun or whatever it is that you're using, and just start. Don't keep putting it off because you're afraid. Fear never got anyone anywhere but stuck.
Like our country's stuck right now. It's too much.
Just a little bit stuck. Too much fear. That's why I keep going off to the mountains every weekend. I'm going up to Feathersville this weekend to scout for bears because I want to be somewhere where people don't look at me sideways for not wearing a mask.
Let's just breathe. Can the whole country just breathe?
Just a little bit. Would be nice, right?
Let's just breathe. I wanted to take my wife to Glenwood Springs to the hot pools, and I said, are they open or not open? And Glenwood Springs is this iconic place, great hotels, great restaurants, just a neat place. And they got these hot springs that are really therapeutic. And so I called, and they go, no, we don't know when we're going to open. And I'm going,
Aww.
Well, yeah, and that's the way it is. I mean,
yeah.
And it's just a time that we have to be positive. And in talking with you the last hour or so, there's such a positive person. And if everybody read your book up to this chapter, they go, no way could this girl have gotten here. And as we said before, not become a train wreck herself. And, we talked about, your faith in God and your Father, your Heavenly Father, that has enabled you to do that. And one thing I know through this pandemic, a lot of times, it'll either draw you closer to God or it'll push you away. And, that's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents on that. And because I know I wouldn't be alive today without somebody watching out for me. And I call that person, God the Father. And it's just an interesting ride. And here we are, as we were talking offline, here we are, and we were talking about everything except hunting. And we're talking about some personal things we're not going to get into, but it's just amazing, the fortitude, the persistence, the dedication, and your outlook and your attitude. I mean, the sky's the limit for you being a mentor, just a mentor for somebody else. And if somebody else wants to connect with you, how do they do that, Andy?
Just through my Instagram, just the Mountain Phoenix. and we can communicate that way. And it's though a lot of the times, Bruce, what I see happens in people's life is they become chronically ill because they complain. And they want to complain that their life isn't going the way they want it to. They want to complain that they don't have the money they want. They want to complain that they don't have the job or the status or the health in their body that they want, or whatever it may be. People were so good at complaining. And it's not to say that it's not warranted. Sometimes we need to vent. We need a sounding board. But at the end of the day, what separates the victor from the victim is the person that's willing to hang up that hat and put on the work hat and say, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about this situation other than make it better. When I was about 8, I went to make lunch for my siblings, and there was no food. We had a little bit of bologna that had gone moldy, and I had to scrape it and cut it and fry it, and that's what they ate. And I just thought to myself, well, what if I went to work? Just this instinct to nurture and to take care of my family just kicked in. And I went to this local gas station, and I asked the lady there if I could pull weeds. And I remember the look that she gave me, Bruce. It was just full of pity. And she says, how much do you need, sweetie? And I looked this woman dead in the eye, and I said, my mom and dad don't work, and it don't work for them. And I said, I want to work. Can I pull weeds? So she took me around the back, and I pulled weeds all day. She brought me a Sprite and a push pop. This was the 90s, and gave me $50. And then I walked to the nearest market, and I got ravioli and top ramen as much as I could carry home, because I was very little, very malnourished. And I split that between my siblings for as long as we could have food. And that gratification that came for supplying that to my family and taking care of them never left. And I've been working since the 2nd grade. And whenever life throws me a curveball, I may not always hit it out of the park. Sometimes I completely strike out and I land flat on my back from swinging too hard. But I always get back up. And I always believe that your life gives back what you put into it. And if all you're going to do is complain about your life, then all you're going to get back is things worthy of complaining about. And so I don't think it's a matter of just having fortitude and strength. I think sometimes it's a mental game of having faith in God and knowing that you're fully capable of doing more than you convince yourself that you can't. And so every time I go hunting, it's frustrating, it's exhausting, it's tiring. But I know when that day comes, when I finally tag out, I get emotional thinking about it. I get emotional thinking about facing that bull and pulling my bow back and everything that I've worked hard to get to that moment. And I know my brother will be there in spirit with me. I know God will be there cheering me on. And every moment leading up to that, all the work put in will just make that experience one for the books. And that's the same attitude I put into my kids and I put into my home and my health and my spirituality and my relationships with other people. I'm going to work at it until it's as successful and amazing as it can possibly be.
Any questions, folks? This is amazing, amazing lady. And I just, I'm honored to know you. And we met in the digital world, and I said, hey, Mount Phoenix, why don't you get on the show? And she said, okay. And it's been the best part of the show aren't the show, actually, but that's a discussion for another time. But anyway,
this was a divine appointment.
Divine appointment. It surely was. Well, folks, I'm going to wrap up this segment of Let's Talk Deer with Andy Munson, the Mountain Phoenix. Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.